Hi, everyone. Thanks for attending this week's From the Bench. Our guest this week is Zoë Goehring of Cave Paper, which is now in Tucson, Arizona from its original home. Zoë Goehring is the second generation owner and operator of Cave Paper, a production scale hand paper making studio that specializes in high quality decorated papers for use by bookbinders, artists, and all types of designers. Cave Paper was founded in 1994 by Amanda Degener and Bridget O'Malley and was based in Minneapolis until July of 2020, when Zoë relocated the studio to her hometown of Tucson, Arizona. Zoë holds a Bachelor of Humanities in Art from Carnegie Mellon University with concentrations in fine art and creative writing, and has an extensive background in organic agriculture as well. She's worked all kinds of jobs before becoming a professional papermaker and says it has been a very welcoming experience to step into the papermaking community. So we welcome Zoë, and I've had a request also to enable a live transcription, which you'll see at the bottom of the screen. It may get a lot of the words wrong. If you find it distracting, you can go to the transcription subtitle settings in your menu bar at the bottom of your window and turn them off. Okay, sorry, Zoë, go ahead.
Great, thanks, Sarah. It's so wonderful to have this opportunity to open up the studio virtually. So thank you for inviting me to be part of the series, and thank you all for tuning in. I've put together a slideshow to share with you all so I don't have to walk around with my computer. So let me get that going and we'll jump right in. So at Cave Paper, we specialize in making uniquely strong sheets of paper in a variety of surface treatments. It's really particularly well suited for use in bookbinding and book covers, and takes letterpress print very well. So I work with various book artists and fine edition presses, but all kinds of different artists use our paper for things like calligraphy, collage, even origami and folding. Some people have sewn with it. Some people will just frame it and put it on the wall as is. So it's definitely a perk of the job to see what our paper becomes once it leaves the studio. Many of you may be familiar with Cave Paper already, but I'll give you a bit of background. It was founded in 1994 by Bridget O'Malley and Amanda Degener in Minneapolis. And they really combined their skills and knowledge of hand paper making to build up their production operation and design their catalog. And over the 25 or so years, they really brought hundreds of interns through their studio and taught so many people. And they both made great contributions to the hand paper making world. So for me, it's really been an honor to learn from Amanda. Amanda and I met in early 2019. And at the time I had some paper making experience, but certainly not on a production scale. And but we started talking pretty early on about the possibility of me carrying on the business. And we spent most of the year planning out a transition plan for the business, which included training me up, figuring out how to relocate all the equipment. And Amanda was really generous as well in working out a payment plan with me so that I could afford to take it on. Obviously, when the pandemic hit, it kind of slowed down some of our plans to move and get the studio set up, but I had a lot of help getting everything in place, and we made it happen. And in July of 2020, I became the official owner and operator of the studio. Early on, before we got set up here, I was learning kind of all the different surface treatments in kind of on a smaller scale, just in my backyard. So here's some of my early attempts at learning those surface treatments. I'm also really lucky that I found the space that we're in here. I found it just about a month before we moved all the equipment here. So the timing really couldn't have been better. It was a pinball arcade before I moved in. So we initially had some pretty fun murals here on the wall that have since been plastered over. This room that's being built out here is an office that my dad uses. We share a workspace, which is really fun. He helps me load the press occasionally, which is great help. This space in the back here has since been walled off. We actually moved the beater into the studio and then built a heavily insulated room around it to help mitigate the sound. Here's the beater being moved into the studio. A garage door was a must. And this beater weighs about a ton. So it was definitely an all-day project figuring out how to get it off the truck and into our space. The last piece of the business transition that was really crucial was Amanda came down to Tucson for about a month to help me finish setting up all the equipment and just finishing up our training here in Tucson. So that was really a crucial step in the process. And I think if she had known what it was like being in Tucson in the middle of summer, she might have reconsidered. But so I'm really grateful that she took the time to come down for that month. So I want to spend most of our time just talking about our production setup. So there's two main phases of production. The first phase is just the sheet formation, and the second phase is really the surface treatment of those base sheets. Most of our paper is made from Belgian flax. There are a few sheets in our catalog that are cotton-based, and a few sheets also that are made with a pigmented pulp. But for the most part, our paper starts off looking like this. This is just a natural flax sheet, just fiber and water, nothing else. We do two different sizes, the 17 by 22 and 21 by 28. Here you can see the different stages of the flax fiber as it goes through the processes. Maybe I can move these out of the way. Do this, there we go. So initially, the fiber starts off looking like this. It's already been processed to a degree at this stage. This is the inner fiber of the flax plant. It's been separated out from the straw. And it's been chopped into, I think, about like 1/4 inch lengths. First, I'll soak the flax overnight before running it through the beater. And you can see here it's considerably darker before it's been processed. That's because we rinse the fiber as it's being beaten. So here's a glimpse into the beater room. This is the big beater, which we use for production. It's a 25-pound capacity Hollander style beater. It's made by Valley Ironworks in Appleton, Wisconsin. It's probably about 100 years old. This arm that comes off the front here adjusts a bed plate that sits under the roller. So throughout the beating process, I'll add more weight to this arm, and that will narrow the space between the bed plate and the roller so the fiber is passing through a smaller and smaller space. We also have this really wonderful 2-pound capacity beater made by David Arena, which was donated by Jill Littlewood. Here is a video to show you the beater in action. So I have a hose set up here, which is bringing clean water into the tank. And this wheel is a rinse wheel. It's removing water from the tank as the fiber is cycling through. So it's being washed as it's also being beaten. What's happening to the fiber at this stage is, in addition to being kind of chopped up by that roller, it's also the fiber is being pulled apart, and it's really incorporating as much water into the fiber on like a cellular level as possible. So it's really introducing a lot of hydrogen bonds at this stage. From there, we go to the sheet forming station here. We have 2 vats set up. I think Amanda built these stands. So they're original cave paper stands. We have this great hydraulic beater, or excuse me, hydraulic press that was also donated by Jill Littlewood. And we sheet form with 2 different molds. They're both made by Timothy Moore. I have a video I'm going to show you of the sheet forming process, and I'm just going to speed it up here to show you this process. So here I'm sheet forming with the 18 by 24 inch mold. And we produce 2 different weights of paper, regular weight and heavy weight. Regular weight is about the thickness of like 3 sheets of copier paper layered up, and our heavy weight is closer to like a cover stock weight. So from one batch of pulp from the beater, we'll typically get anywhere from 75 to maybe 125 sheets of paper, depending on the dimensions and the weight of the paper that I'm sheet forming. So here, this step is called couching, when you transfer the wet sheet of paper onto the wet felt. And you build up this post, which is your stack of wet felts and wet sheets of paper. So I'll show you one more sheet being formed. And once your post is complete, it gets moved into this hydraulic press and the water is pressed out. Okay. Oops. So I have a video of this next step also. This is really like the first step in our drying process. We air dry or loft dry our paper in spurs of 4 sheets that are lightly pressed together. So this stage of the process, I'm taking the paper that I've just pressed in the hydraulic press, and I'm layering 4 sheets together into a spur. And there's a few reasons that we dry our paper in spurs. For one, it just saves space when you're air drying your paper. I think the spur is also stronger when it's hanging than an individual sheet. And it's also part of what contributes to the finished texture of the paper. But this stage, I think is probably the most stressful for me, because you really want to line them up as close to perfect as you can without introducing any wrinkles or stretching out the corners too much. So it really helps to be in a very calm mindset at this stage. But basically, this video is pretty long, but you'll see once I have my 4 sheets layered up, I'll put another felt on top, start assembling my next spur until I've made my way through my post, and then those spurs will get pressed in the hydraulic press at a much lower pressure than that initial pressing. I'm gonna keep moving right along here.
Zoe,
Yes.
someone's asking, you say we often. Are you referring to a partner or a helper or the royal we? Who's the we?
Oh, I guess it is. I do kind of use a we because I've really just been using the techniques that Amanda has taught me that have been part of cave paper for decades. So I guess I use we because I didn't invent any of this. But I do, I am mostly operating on my own at this point. I have had a couple interns come through, and definitely as I continue to grow cave paper here in Tucson, I'll definitely need to bring on some more help as well. But I guess, yeah, that's funny. I do use the word we a lot in that context, but I guess I could use I as well, but I think it is because it's these are all techniques that many people have done for a long time before me.
Makes sense. Thanks.
Sure. That's a great question. Here you can see those wet spurs that are hanging to dry after they've been pressed. And these are some spurs that have already been drying. You can see as they dry, the fiber really shrinks considerably. Flax fiber shrinks quite a bit more than other fibers. And it's part of what makes our paper so strong. After the spurs are completely dry, the paper can be peeled apart into individual sheets, and then they're ready for that second phase of surface treatments. So now I'm just gonna kind of quickly move through some of the different surface treatments that are part of the cave catalog. There's a lot of natural dyes. We use indigo dye, layered in different ways with itself and also with walnut dye, as you can see here on the left. This paper is also indigo and walnut layered together. Several dips of indigo and then several layers of walnut dye on top to get that really rich inky hue. Here we have walnut dye on its own. The persimmon dye is a traditional Japanese dye called kakishibu. It's naturally water resistant. It's made from fermented persimmon juice, and I purchase it in a freeze-dried form and then reconstitute it. Most of our sheets receive a layer of external gelatin sizing after they've been dyed or colored, but because the persimmon has that natural water resistance, it kind of acts as its own external sizing. This is one of our acrylic pigments, the bright purple charnel house crackle, and that's applied as a resist dye method. The Starry Night is an indigo sheet with mica sprinkled on during that application of the external gelatin sizing when it's still wet. And then after that dries, it gets another coat of sizing to kind of seal it in. The Cloudy Sky is one of our cotton-based papers. And it uses a pigmented pulp. And the production of this sheet is a little different. We'll set up 2 different vats, one with the blue pulp and another vat that's used just for the cloud formations with white and gray pulp. So one person will sheet form the blue base sheet and another person will work on these cloud formations and couch that right on top of the blue base sheet. And then a felt goes on top of that. So the 2 layers are pressed together into one sheet. Here you can see spurs of cloudy sky drying on our marble racks and an inventory of flax base sheets toward the front. So the final stage is flattening the paper. Here's a few different iterations of what a stack dryer can look like. Here's kind of our initial setup. And then 2 different stack dryers that I'm using currently. This one is was also donated by Jill Littlewood and uses this crank mechanism to lower the platen. This one that we just built uses ratchet straps to apply pressure to the top board. And here you can see we just weighted down these top boards with cinder blocks, but the basic premise is the same in all of them. First, you kind of rehydrate those finished papers, and each sheet gets sandwiched between blotter papers and cardboard stacked up. Weight is applied to the top, and then air is pushed through that stack. In the back of these 2, there's actually a fan built into both of these that's pushing air through. Here you can see a stack of O'Malley crackle before and after being flattened. I think the finished stack is about 7 inches tall, so it looks considerably different. One piece of moving the studio here to Tucson has been just really reimagining and thinking about different ways to use water and reuse water within the studio. I'm currently capturing about 200 gallons of gray water per cycle of the beater. And this is my dad, Mark. He's built this trailer for his bicycle where he transports water from the studio to my parents' garden, where they have these water catchment basins that he fills with our gray water from Cave Paper. But production paper making just requires a lot of water. So I've been learning about how to capture more of my gray water, how to filter and clean it, and hopefully reuse it in the paper making process. And I've also been looking at rainwater harvesting for our building and seeing if that might be a possibility to use as an alternative water source in the studio as well. One fun byproduct of my dad's gray water use is that he's started making these big pieces of wild paper, that's what he calls it, which is just made from the pulp getting layered up continually in the same spot and then drying over time. This piece, I think, fell down after we had a really great monsoon season this past fall. So it was a temporary installation. I've mostly been focused on just maintaining and carrying on the pre-existing Cave Paper catalog. But I have introduced a couple just limited edition papers that have been really fun. These are 2 papers that I made as a kind of celebration of our 1-year anniversary here in Tucson. So this is a black paper with mica applied to the top. This one is made really similarly to the cloudy sky process that I described earlier, just with different pigmented pulps. This was a really fun kind of one-off project to do, and I think it's something I'd like to do every year is just have a limited edition anniversary paper. Amanda pointed out to me that I guess the 1-year anniversary is the paper anniversary, so it felt particularly appropriate last year, but I think it will be a fun thing to continue. Another big part of what we do here at the studio, or what I'm doing and carrying on, is custom work. So if it's not something that is part of our regular catalog, I can still do like a custom project for special projects for people. So this is a custom project I made for Veritas Editions for a collection of photography they're going to be releasing. It's a dark indigo base sheet with a black crackle treatment on top. I've also been experimenting with using agave fiber. Agave is a particularly tough fiber. It takes a lot of cooking and processing to get it to the point where you can make paper out of it. But I learned that cooked agave is actually just a byproduct of mezcal and tequila production. So I've been working with a local business here that's partnered with some mezcal producers in Mexico, and they were able to get me a couple pounds of fiber just to play with. So I've started doing some tests. You can see here, my sheet formation was pretty uneven. It's pretty hard to sheet form just the agave, so I've mixed it in with some flax fiber as well. But I'm really looking forward to playing more with that. I've really just done one test so far, and I think it will be an exciting project to move forward with. And that's it. That's it for now. Thanks again to SFCB for inviting me here. And all my contact info is here. This is all on my website as well, cavepaper.com. So feel free to be in touch. And yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Hopefully we have some time for some questions.
Yeah, let's switch some questions in. First, what's the dog's name?
Oh, that's Ramona.
All right. Hi, Ramona. As expected, we have quite a few questions. You answered some of them in the process. Judy's wondering if you have any thoughts about a domestic source of flax. Is that an issue? Is your Belgian flax actually from Belgium?
It is. So that's a great question, and something I hope that can change over time. We source our flax from Belgium because they have a really established linen textile industry there. So they really grow and process flax for fiber use. There isn't really anything like that happening in the US at the moment. I think there is a movement to grow more flax for fiber in the United States, but it's just not really happening on the scale that that we need.
You need. In a related vein, Hans wonders if your current production level is able to fulfill your wholesale orders like Talus and whoever else you've been.
Oh yeah, thanks Hans, that's a great question. Yeah, we're still doing wholesale with Talus in Brooklyn, New York, and with Hiromi Paper in Culver City.
Oh great, yeah, love Hiromi. 2 beater questions. One is whether the fiber basically how long does the fiber stay in the beater? I think that covers both the questions actually.
Yeah, it varies depending on what kind of fiber you're processing. Our process with flax, it takes about 4 hours for one cycle through the beater.
And when you show those pictures at the beginning of the flax in the various stages, when you get it, it is that initial cut, sort of fluff.
Yes, yeah.
And just a general question about what are the most common uses for cave paper that you know of?
Oh yeah, well, definitely it's really popular for bookbinding. The regular weight paper works really well if you're going to be wrapping bookboard, and the heavyweight can function on its own as a soft cover. Um, that's probably the primary use for cave paper, but it is used for all different kinds of things. I know some artists use it as for calligraphy and ink work. I've seen some art with oil pastels on top, which is really beautiful. It works great for letterpress printing. And some block printing comes through pretty well. It's really textured, so
Okay. Yeah, it is. There's a question that I think maybe you just answered. Is it suitable for etching or for digital printing?
The cotton sheets are a little bit smoother, so they might be more receptive to those types of print. But yeah, it is very textured in general.
The questions are rolling in, so I'll probably wrap it up. I think we're getting into trade secrets here. How do you do the crackle?
Oh yeah, there's no trade secrets, but feel free to come intern with me. The crackle is a resist dye method. So I'll apply a really concentrated layer of that gelatin sizing to the sheet, let it cure and dry, and then the sheet is actually crumpled and dunked in the dye bath and rinsed. So where those cracks appear in the sizing is where the pigment is absorbed by the paper. That's what gives it that crackle texture.
And then the indigo, like the swashes and things, how is that brush applied or?
So indigo is a vat dye. So the paper is dipped into the vat. Okay. So to get those different layers takes multiple dips in the vat.
Of course, it must. Yes, a lot of questions, but also really lovely comments. And actually, I think maybe we'll sort of wrap it up. A lot of people are saying what a wonderful tour this has been. And a lot of people love using your papers. And Amanda herself is in the audience. Hi, Amanda.
Hey, Amanda.
And she says, what a great presentation. So fantastic that you're in charge
of
paper. So that's a really lovely sentiment. Thank you, Zoe, and thank you everyone for attending today. I've loved this. It was fascinating. I learned so much. And thanks for taking the time, Zoe.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in. And thank you again for inviting me here, Sarah. This has been a lot of fun.
It has been. Next month in March, we'll be talking with Inga Bruggeman, who is the Associate Director for the Codex Foundation. So Codex, I believe 8 is still on the calendar for April. And so she's going to be talking to us about what that looks like as we stumble forward in these still strange times. So registration is open, and so you can sign up for that on our Eventbrite page if you're interested, and hope to see you next month. Thank you again, Zoe.
Thank you.